Hope you enjoy the rest of your night. Thanks very much.
Woo!
Thanks very much, Johnny.
Woo! Moving on.
Before we begin, I'd just like to reiterate Johnny's sentiments in saying how beautiful Andrea looks today, and of course her stunning bridesmaids. Firstly, I must say it's an honour to be here beside Johnny today as his best man. Johnny is an absolute gentleman who cares deeply about his family, friends, and in particular his new wife, Andrea. As you heard earlier, Johnny loves his football. He's also a very keen golfer. Although his performances in the last year have left a lot to be desired, as his handicap has drifted terribly from 14 out to 18. You were, Johnny, you were busy. However, one of his greatest passions is music. And when he was about 14, Johnny particularly fell in love with music, and in particular, he fell in love with the band Pearl Jam.
Woohoo!
So much so that Johnny started looking like the band. He let his hair grow long, he had all the scruffy clothes to match, and hardly ever washed himself. It was at this time that Johnny started to develop his artistic skills, and he started teaching himself guitar, writing songs, and in particular, poetry.
Oh God.
And as you heard, to John and Crinda's annoyance, he took up the drums. The neighbours did. In 2002, myself and Johnny bought an apartment together. Luckily for me, he'd given up the drums at that stage. So we set about decorating the place. I said to Johnny that we'd do the tiling ourselves. How hard could it be? Turns out it was quite hard for Johnny. After he destroyed a box of tiles, I realised that DIY was not his strongest suit. At some stage along the way, little mouse decided to join us in the apartment. Knowing Johnny being the kind, gentle soul that he is, he would want nothing to do with this problem. So I took on the task of trying to remove him. Every night I'd leave out a little present for him, and after a week or so, there was still no sign of me catching him. That is, until one evening, Johnny was at home on his own, and he heard the trap go off. After a while, Johnny went out to the kitchen to see if I caught the mouse. And to his horror, he sees the mouse staggering around the kitchen. Petrified, he starts to fight for his life. The mouse put up a little fight too. That was until Johnny picked up a broom and proceeded, in a panic, to beat the mouse to death. Jumping forward a year or so, Johnny has now moved in with Andrea. Two of them are at home one night, cuddled up on the couch, and they see a little mouse running across the floor. Andrea jumps out of the chair, flies out the door, and tells Johnny that she's moving back in with her mum and dad until Johnny removes the mouse. Obviously, Johnny triumphed again, otherwise I don't think we'd all be here today. As most of you know, Johnny prides himself on being a very intelligent person. But there have been signs that maybe he's not that bright. It's obvious to us all here today that Andrea is Johnny's greatest prize. About 5 years ago, Johnny had a different type of prize. He had bought himself a brand new Golf GTI.
Oh no!
This is the car that he always wanted. It was his pride and joy and could be seen outside Ballantyre endlessly cleaning and polishing it. So Johnny one day he was preparing to move in with Andrea, and he had the car outside, had it loaded up with all his possessions, such as his electric guitar, his stereo, his CDs, his clothes, you name it. He gets into the car, he has the car pointing out the driveway, gets into the car, starts it up, then gets back out of the car, back into the house, leaving the car running. Meanwhile, some lad comes walking down the road, minding his own business, and sees this beautifully polished, fully loaded up Golf GTI sitting there waiting for him. Sad to say, Johnny never saw his beloved car again. But I'm sure he won't be so careless with his greatest prize. As I mentioned earlier, Johnny is quite the aspiring poet. And from the time we were in school, he was always writing down a few lines of poetry as inspiration struck him. So knowing how much he'd appreciate it, I have a little poem for him. It's called Perfect Groom. Perfect groom is gentle, never harsh, cruel or mean. He has a beautiful smile and keeps his face so incredibly clean. The perfect groom loves children and will raise them by your side. He'll be a good father and a husband to his bride. Perfect groom loves cooking, cleaning and washing too, and he'll do anything in his power to show his love for you. The perfect groom is sweet, writing poetry from your name. He's a best friend to your mother and he kisses away the pain. He never makes you cry or hurts you in any way, and if this poem stands true, then Johnny, you really must be gay.
Very good.
But on a more serious note, I know both Johnny and Andrea are both incredibly conscientious, caring and generous people. Personally, Johnny has always been there for me in the good times and probably more importantly, the tougher times. I think that any of us here today who are lucky to be close to either of them realise how lucky we are to have their friendship. I've always known that any woman would be very lucky to have Johnny, but in Andrea I think he is equally as lucky to have her. So ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand up and we have a toast? Bride and groom, Johnny and Andrea.
Move it back.
Back this way.
No. No.
Sorry everybody, if you want, oh sorry, anyone doing bets on thank yous? I'd like to say thank you, thank you, thank you. If everyone wants to get their cameras ready, Johnny and Andrea are going to cut the
Back.